Hello there, happy Sunday. It is Nick Zengel coming to you live from California for the second time today on this Sunday for this recap and react to episode 16 of season 11 of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. This episode is titled Threats and Promises, and since this is both a recap and reaction for us together, I will remind you that if you are watching the replay or listening to the replay, there are timestamps in the description for you. If you'd only like to see the recap portion or just the reaction portion or just me interacting with the live chat, you get to choose if you would like, or if you want to watch the whole thing, of course, I'm right here. But without further ado, let's jump right into things. So we pick up this episode right where the last episode left off, with Erika aggressively confronting Sutton, saying, "Do you want to get sued?" She jumps right into it this episode. And Kyle, stepping in, says, "Erika, you saying that gives what Sutton is saying a lot more credibility." But Erika clarifies, not her suing Sutton is what she's not saying that. What she's saying is those that are questioning someone's health who is not there. She's alluding to Tom. That's who she is kind of warning them against in this whole situation, because she's saying that Tom is not dead and gone, so he can still come after you. That's basically what Erika was implying. 1 second, let me unplug this. And so I thought that was very interesting and sounded like a threat to me. But Dorit then steps in again, saying, "What you said, Erika, is kind of a threat to all of us," and in a kind of pissed off, concerned tone. And I don't blame her, because Dorit says, "We don't want to be in this, but we are. And so we have to basically deal with it. And that's why we're concerned about what's going on." Erika then clarifies again, saying it is one thing to talk and discuss about what's going on, and it is another thing to call someone a liar, which Erika thinks Sutton brought to that level, which I don't disagree with her. But that is why Erika feels she had to kind of threaten Sutton. Now, Erika continues by saying, "I'm about to lose my shit on all of you," as Kathy is seen doing this whole, like, the calming, like, calm down, which it's not funny, but it is funny. It's kind of iconic of Kathy to be like, calm down, calm down. But everyone pauses awkwardly with a little bit of silence, and there's no music, no nothing. Genius editing by the editors. And everyone's kind of just waiting for what Erika's going to say, because she is here, pictured kind of paused in this. This looks like this is a still frame of what I chose, but she was actually paused in real life, and everyone was just kind of waiting for her to see what she was going to say. We get cuts to all the women's faces going, okay. Even the butler gets his turn at a stare, and he's standing there. I'm guessing he may not have actually been standing there in that instance, but they kind of edited it for dramatic effect. But Erika is then leaned over with her elbow on the table and forearm raised. She turns to Sutton with a slight lean and points to her, saying, "If you ever call me a liar again, I'm coming for you." And that is when Sutton kind of bug eyes goes, "What the heck?" Everyone's like, "What the fuck?" And Sutton kind of ponders on it like, what is that supposed to mean? Erika then says, "Trust me," and clarifies again after Sutton responds with, "I didn't threaten you, I promised you," with that little smirk on her face, Erika. And she says, "It's a fucking promise. Don't push unless you want to be pushed back." The girls then start defending Sutton finally, because, surprise, it is now affecting all of them, as they feel threatened that Erika might sue any of them for even questioning her. And so Sutton then leaves the table to Kathy and Garcelle, kind of going after her to kind of intercept her, hopefully, before she heads out. And now Kathy says in her confessional, this kind of thing has never happened at any party she's ever thrown at her house. And I believe her on that one, because it's pretty crazy. But Erika is then trying to act unbothered at the table by playing with Muffy the dog, Kathy's dog, after Sutton left, and Erika gladly kind of pushed in her chair and says, "Go, there's the door, I don't care." And so as Sutton is being comforted outside the front door by Kathy, Erika is still inside saying, "If you have the balls to confront me and then you walk out, go right ahead." And Crystal basically agrees with what Erika was saying that she would have reacted the same way if someone had called her a liar as well. Now, Sutton is emotional outside here. You see here with Garcelle comforting her too, saying, what the fuck was that? Like, what the hell just happened? And now Kyle is out there too, trying to calm Sutton down after being threatened to be sued, and Garcelle calling out Kyle too. And so Garcelle is saying what I think a lot of us are thinking when we watch this, in that Erika is the problem, not Sutton. So after Sutton leaves, so she officially leaves the party, leaves the premises, the girls are saying how the term liar, quote unquote, is a strong accusation. I see you guys in the chat, so I'll be with you in a second. After Sutton leaves, the girls are saying how the term liar is a strong accusation, including Kathy, while Garcelle is kind of sticking up for Sutton, saying, Erika, you just freaked her out, leading to all of us getting flashbacks of the handful of times that Erika has done similar things and snapped on people when triggered by the likes of Teddy and Dorit and Eileen in the past. Hold on, let me check my settings really quick to make sure. Okay, we're good. So we got that. And then Garcelle is saying, Kyle continues in her confessional, focusing on Sutton, saying she thinks Sutton is still not being honest and that Erika's bark is worse than her bite, and is frustrated as Sutton's friend when she gets up and leaves and doesn't fully finish the confrontation. And so the dinner ends with a champagne cheer with all of them, with the remaining girls still at the party, and Kyle basically thanking her sister for having all of them, and that scene ends. Now, in this scene, Erika talking about suing over health issues supports, like what Kyle kind of said, Sutton claiming this whole thing may be a front to protect Tom. And in her confessional now, Erika didn't seem to have any ill will towards Tom, and has this look on her face like, watch out for him, he can still come for you. So I'm guessing she still has some love for him, even though he completely screwed her over, allegedly. So it's kind of confusing, because we're supposed to believe that Tom is this evil guy that left her and screwed her over and whatnot, but then she's basically defending him, or kind of speaking on his behalf in this case about what he can still possibly do. I don't know how to make sense of all that, but I personally think Erika is throwing around, knows about what is about to happen to her, meaning she knows her life is going to be hell for a while, and is trying, in my opinion, to set up anything and kind of allude to anything that would be conducive to a lawsuit to anyone to help her pay the damages back to help the victims, pay them back for the money that they were owed, that she was loaned by Tom. And I don't know, because everything else has been taken at this point, so I don't see why she wouldn't just go all in on all this. Now, also, I've heard this before, and this was a rumor, that in their contract for the show, they have a clause where the cast cannot sue each other for what is said on the show to each other, which, if that is true, then that would basically stop Erika from suing any of them. So maybe they all want to revisit their contracts, unlike the conversations that were had in recent weeks where they agreed that this is normal for them to sign, without really looking at the contract, something from their husband. So they might want to change tone on that now. But there is kind of a caveat to this, which is Erika saying, don't talk about people who aren't here. So maybe in that contract, it is just the main cast members talking about each other and not spouses or people who aren't in the main cast. So maybe that's why she was warning about Tom, because he's not a part of the cast and he's not a main cast member. So maybe that's kind of a way around it. But also, I like how Kyle is actually saying Sutton is the one putting them, or I should have a different tone with this. Also, I like how Kyle is saying Sutton is the one putting them in a bad position at the table, not Erika, who is the one that's accused. Because if Tom and Erika weren't in trouble, this would not be happening. This is kind of what Dorit was alluding to. And so I think Sutton is an easy scapegoat, just like Garcelle said. And lastly, for this scene, I think Sutton and Garcelle, overall this season so far, even though they've been having the most trouble with Erika at this point, by them trying to kindly be honest with her to her face, even though Erika may not see it that way right now, I think they're actually trying to be really good friends to her, and they might be actually being the better friends out of the group because they're being honest with her. Isn't that all you want with your friends, is just to be honest, right? I don't know. Anyways, let me take a sip of water and I will check the chat. All right, let's see what everyone is saying in the chat. Actually, I want to say one thing before I check your chat, Nastia. One thing from the last episode, when I was having technical difficulties, I didn't get to read one of your chats, which was the chat about the staff being kind of mortified when they were watching everything go down, and so I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that I heard that. But anyways, let's get to your chat. So Nastia says Tom has such bad dementia that he stole money from vulnerable clients, but is of sound mind enough to sue Sutton. Make it make sense. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. That's something I was kind of confused about too. Nastia says Crystal will agree with anything as long as it's against Sutton at this point. Yeah, I'm starting to think Crystal can be considered or put in the box of Sutton derangement syndrome, kind of like what's been used in politics recently, where it's like anything and everything about this person is just, you just have an aversion or whatever against them. So I think you're right on that. And then Nastia says Erika wants something more akin to minions than friends. Yeah. And I think you were out for a second, Nastia, but I just wanted to tell you, I saw your chat that I missed last episode about the staff. And I think now that we see the dinner over, I can imagine that if Kathy is saying that she's never had a dinner like this, and I'm sure the staff probably hasn't either. So I agree with you on that one. All right. Let us move on now to the next part. So we pick up with Lisa Rinna visiting Garcelle at her house, sharing how just after Lisa had everyone over for Harry to cook for them a few episodes back, where Sutton and Crystal got into it in that iconic leather pants scene, Harry and Lisa actually then drove over to Garcelle's to deliver more sauce to her. And wild prediction, I smell a sauce line or some kind of product, something coming from Harry Hamlin over his sauce. That's just a random thought. But anyways, so Garcelle and Lisa are catching up about last night's dinner, which we saw just play out. And Lisa is asking for help because drunk Rinna was in full swing. Garcelle then gives a brief synopsis to us and Lisa and shares that she checked in with Sutton that morning, where Sutton said she was not doing okay, to which Garcelle says Sutton may not want to be around Erika anymore because Erika threatened her. Now Lisa then says, well, it is up to them to figure it out, and Garcelle then brings up again her feelings of being on a different team than Kyle, Kathy, Lisa, and Dorit, because she thinks Lisa doesn't look out for her in the group, and Garcelle brings up recent instances that Lisa was quiet when Garcelle could use backup, and Lisa doubles down on her actions and then decides to turn it around on Garcelle with instances she didn't feel supported by Garcelle, and they end the scene what looks like on good terms for talking it out. Now, a few thoughts on the scene. It is really convenient of Lisa Rinna, and I touched on this last episode that I was going to touch on this thought right now. Convenient of Lisa Rinna at this point to say she blacked out, considering she's friends with Erika and backing her up, and now can blame Garcelle for retelling, quote unquote, retelling the story wrong. If at any point she needs to throw Garcelle under a bus to save herself, so she can say, oh, I was drunk and Garcelle told me the story wrong. That's what I think. Also, it looks like the plan to throw Sutton into the fire with Erika worked for now, because Lisa was very quick to say, Garcelle, just let him handle it. And of course, Garcelle sees through that, but she's not showing all of her cards and what she's seeing, but she's sticking by her friend Sutton. And finally, I like seeing Garcelle sharing this with the girls, especially Lisa Rinna, and I think she shared it with the group at Lisa Rinna's launch party for Rinna Beauty. Her thoughts of that only us viewers, and I think Crystal was the only other one she shared with before with the group, about her feeling like an outsider. And I think it seemed to work in this scene, her being honest. So I think hopefully they'll be more conscious of it going forward. And yeah, so we are now with Sutton at a home interior store, meeting with Kyle by themselves in the store so they can be mask free, whatnot, to buy for Sutton's store. Now they were getting a private showing, and one of the rings that they showed, I think it was a Cartier ring or maybe a Tiffany ring or something, was $200,000 plus, which blows my mind in some ways. But then again, I try to put into context how much these people are worth and kind of figure that out. And it's probably to some of them like buying a new TV for us normal folks. So it's kind of wild to see the proportions. But that's why I always am aware of lifestyle creep. I don't want to creep my lifestyle too much because then you become these people. Anyways, Kyle then points out that her niece, Nikki Hilton, who had just married one of the Rothschild heirs, kind of brought it up when they were mentioning some table pieces that were at the store were commissioned by the Rothschild family. So I'll have a few thoughts on that in a second, but leading them to talk about the night before, where Sutton actually brings up her not liking the girls pushing her to keep talking about this stuff. As Kyle says, she didn't want Sutton to be two-faced. And this is where we go to commercial, basically, with Sutton telling Kyle, you know what, you talk too much, just like Dorit, and kind of walks away pissed off at Kyle. So we go to commercial, and we return from commercial, seeing Kyle say, then don't talk to Erika anymore. If you don't want us pushing you to talk about it, then stop talking about her. And she's not saying Sutton has done anything wrong, but that she is not being honest. So Sutton then in her confessional says this is triggering to her because she was in a marriage where she was told what to do and she is not doing that anymore, leading to Sutton saying, I told my friend, in air quotes, something which pisses off Kyle because she's the friend that is in air quotes, because Sutton is now backtracking on their closeness, where Kyle is now questioning what Sutton actually means that she is telling Kyle, because Kyle is interpreting it as two different things, one thing to Kyle and then one thing to the group. So I don't see it that way, but she'll defend herself in a second. So Sutton then explains she was being honest and she lists all the examples, and Sutton is right in her confessional saying she is being used by the girls to be their mouthpiece so she can take the fall for them. And so Kyle then says she thinks Sutton and Erika were both wrong, saying she doesn't want the anger misdirected at Kyle from Erika. And so the scene ends there. But before getting to your comments in the chat, I have a few thoughts on this whole scene. So first, to that last part we just talked about, I'd say BS to Kyle as far as what she said, because it appears that she doesn't want any anger at her, even though she has the same feelings as Sutton. So my thoughts last episode about wondering how long Kyle and Sutton would stay good friends may be aging pretty well and happening quicker than I thought as far as their friendship going down the tubes. But maybe this is the worst of it. But I understand Kyle wanting Sutton to say what she means, but they better be careful because Sutton knows what they all said behind Erika's back. And I don't think she has a problem using it to defend herself if she needs to in front of Erika. So I would not keep pushing Sutton if I were them, because she has shown she is not afraid to stand alone, and she would turn on all these people if she had to save herself, just like everyone else, right? So another note, the fact that a Hilton married a Rothschild and is associated with this group of girls just shows the proximity to power in this group and supports my stance of how claims of oppression and disadvantage and all these things that I've been kind of critical of over the past few months in this season only go so far with me when they're brought up, because socioeconomically they're all in the top maybe 1%, maybe, I don't know, some of them maybe a little lower down, but they're not disadvantaged. So I'm not saying that they don't face challenges on their way to success or in their success, but clearly they have advantages. Most of us do not. All right, so we are now, actually, I have a few more things and then I'll get to your chat. So we are now at Dorit and PK's house for a date night where, actually, you know what? I'm going to get your chats right now. Let's see. Nastia says, how many times does someone have to thank you? If you do something, do it from the kindness of your heart without expectations. Lisa stinks of entitlement there. Yeah, are you referring to the Lisa Rinna saying she would have liked a text from Garcelle saying thank you for the sauce, even though Garcelle told her in person when they dropped it off that thank you, I love it. Like, don't you think that's compliment enough that she wanted more of it when you had it? Yeah, I completely agree. Lisa Rinna's really reaching, I think, at this point. Let's see. Nastia also says, Kyle was gaslighting Sutton so bad here. Sutton should have never apologized to Kyle. After that dinner, I would have moved out promptly. Kyle would get no more money from me, but I'm petty that way. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll see more. Maybe they'll have a little more, some more fallouts in the season. I don't know. But I feel like their friendship seems to be good and pretty solid compared to maybe some of the other ones. And so obviously that's why she probably let her rent her house because she trusts her. But we'll see kind of how that plays out. Not sure. All right. Let's see what's next. All right. So we are now at Dorit and PK's house for a date night. Actually, let me take a sip of water for a second. I've been talking. All right, we're back. So, Dorit and PK's house for date night, where their dynamic kind of reminds me of many married couples. I know where the man is kind of is basically being a man. I relate to this and just kind of opening the cork of the bottle without really thinking about the cork like flying through the house. He just kind of wants the food, if you know what I mean. But anyways, they are kind of cheering to the collection of wedding dresses that Dorit is finally getting ready to share with the group, and PK is distracted in the same way that last episode we saw Mauricio was distracted during their anniversary dinner with Kyle. So I think it's probably just a guy thing. I don't know, easily distracted or ADHD. I don't know, whatever their excuse is. But they are talking about next week having the launch party for her wedding dresses, and PK brings up a good point about Erika. So that comes up as well, and how she is posting on social media, provoking people in her captions and some of the provocative things she's posting that's kind of poking fun at the situation. And he says that he thinks she can say a lot of stuff legally without any problems legally, and she's basically using the legal excuse to not have to address things that she should be addressing to the group. PK also calls out Tom as well. And so PK says how she is handling this could be screwing her out of rebuilding a life should she not have to do any jail time or anything like that, because she's handling this pretty poorly. Now, in this scene, I agree with Dorit and PK in this because but here's the thing. I would like Dorit to take what they talked about here with PK in the same tone and the same arguments to Erika's face as her friend, maybe one-on-one, because I thought this whole conversation between Dorit and PK was really fair and could be really helpful to Erika. But at this point, I don't think she would even listen to anyone. At this point, she seems like she feels backed in the corner and is kind of just over everyone talking about it. So, I mean, I think that ship has sailed at this point. But anyways, I see a few chats coming in, so let me check the chat one more time. Nastia says, hell must have frozen over because PK was 100% right. Absolutely. And all those years of them having troubles, I think it was the past few seasons, legal troubles, where they were kind of in the hot seat for that. Clearly, they have learned a lot of lessons from that. And I think in the situation from a lawsuit perspective in business, I would say PK would be one of the people I would trust with his opinion on what to do and what not to do, considering they seem pretty relieved that their legal troubles are over for now. So I am 100% with you, Nastia. I don't mind PK and Dorit. I think they're very entertaining, but I know they can get annoying sometimes, or at least they used to be. I think since their legal troubles, they've actually become a little more normal to me, a little more down to earth. But anyways, we can each argue that one way or the other. Okay. Next, we pick up at Garcelle's and we have another dinner party. It seems like every other episode ends with a dinner party and then it floods into the next week. But this week, it doesn't look like it's going to flood into the next week. But she is having a dinner for the girls to cook Haitian food. And that is her heritage, of course. She has these beautiful decorations, beautiful flowers, beautiful conch shells, and all this beautiful stuff that she set up in her house with her chef helping her out for this event because she wants to entertain her friends. Now, we all see the girls at their houses getting ready before this scene. We get another Kyle calling people while she's getting ready. It seems like every episode this is a thing. And I guess maybe I'm just over that stuff because I'm not a woman who gets ready like that, but I was just like, okay, we get it. Anyways, everyone is arriving to Garcelle's when they enter the Garcelle, her lawn in front has all these candles. They walk in, it has all this beautiful decorations out of the normal for her house with floral, fish, bright colors, like I said, and Lisa and Garcelle seem to be in good place for now before Crystal and Dorit arrive next, followed by Erika, Kyle, and Sutton. And then, not like last time, but not Erika. Ugh. Erika isn't last like the last couple times that they've had events, indicating that there's kind of a shift in the group dynamic to me. We also learned from Kyle that Kathy's not going to be there, and they kind of joke about the bet that they had before everyone arrived between Lisa and Garcelle on who would arrive after Lisa. And I guess they guessed Dorit, but they were kind of joking. Garcelle gave her $100 because that was the bet, and she said, "I'm going to have you give it to charity," and Dorit took it, basically thinking she's the charity, which was kind of funny, and we headed to commercial with a laugh. So now we are seeing the women eating at the table after Garcelle welcomed them, and the chef shared the first course, which was a pumpkin soup that wasn't allowed, or they didn't have it very much in Haiti because it was seen as an upper class food due to it taking longer to harvest. So I thought that was very interesting. And I like learning little tidbits here and there weaved into the show. Now, this leads to Dorit sharing about her upbringing and leads her to telling this very long story that, of course, brings up the joke again about her talking too long, and Garcelle kind of shushes Dorit as the next course is being served, and with a laugh from everyone, of course, because everyone's kind of making fun of it at this point. But this course is a salted fish due to them in Haiti not always having refrigeration access on the island, and of course, a conch shell, as Kyle appears to like the fish more, Rinna likes the conch more, and they both don't like the other two, even though she isn't a fish person, but Lisa has been making it a point to say she is trying this in support of Garcelle. So I think their conversation recently about them wanting to be more supportive of each other, I think it looks like it's working out right now because Lisa is trying to step out of her comfort zone for her friend Garcelle. So Garcelle then shares stories growing up of coming home and there's a goat's head in the sink as she invited her first friend over. She said she was the only black kid in her class and she would invite a friend over and they would get scared off by the food. But they end the meal by eating a lavender creme brulee, and they are complimenting each other's outfits when they bring up the shopping incident we just saw with Kyle and Sutton, brought up by Kyle. And at the table, Sutton says she was sorry about dismissing or undermining their friendship with the air quotes, and it seems like they're fine for now. But as as they're doing this little Sutton and Kyle thing, it appears, based on editing, that Erika was at her seat on her phone, and in her confessional she says, well, scrolling through the New York Times is a lot more interesting than these two conversations. So anyways, she said she's only here for Garcelle and she's not interested in the other women. We head to commercial with them joking about the air quotes with the entire group, kind of messing with each other, and I will get to the chat after this last scene, I promise. But I wanted to say that I love that Garcelle is, despite growing up different in wherever she grew up in the U.S., I believe she said it was Florida, and having maybe some scared off people from the food that she would share with them growing up. I like that she isn't ashamed of it and she actually embraces and shares her heritage with people still to this day. And I think that's what makes her her. So I think that's really awesome. Also, I thought it was very rude of Erika to be on her phone at the table. Even if you are there for Garcelle, respect her and be present for her. But evidently that was the whole point of Erika. She wanted to kind of show that she was not listening or whatnot. So anyways, so everyone is back in the living room as Garcelle is passing out coats for everyone to have who is cold, and they were talking about their outfits during the meeting without Erika. I don't think they meant to bring this up because Erika's still there, and it kind of sparks an awkward conversation with Erika present now. But few people, I think, read the room very carefully and led this to a quick exit by Dorit, Lisa, and Erika, leaving the other girls inside to talk about Erika since the incident where they met without her was just brought up. Now, Kyle asks if Sutton needs to apologize to Erika for calling her a liar, with a surprise reaction from Garcelle, like, well, why would you need to apologize for that? Sutton then says in her confessional, the only apology needed, it needs to come from Erika, 1, to the victims, and 2, to her, Sutton, for threatening to sue her with that thing, which is like that. So I think that's a pretty reasonable response from Sutton. Now, Kyle is saying she would want to know if someone was questioning her integrity behind her back, and that she would want to know, giving Garcelle a reason to call out Kyle on their issues regarding this recently. But I don't think the two situations are equal, because Kyle actually did say what she was meant to say to Garcelle's face. Granted, it was on a Zoom reunion last year, so it wasn't like directly to her face, but they addressed the issue head on. And from what we know, it doesn't seem like Kyle told that to anyone else, but I don't remember that being a thing. But anyways, Crystal is then invited to share her thoughts on this situation as we get flashbacks to Erika and Crystal meeting a few days before, which we hadn't seen yet, where Erika said she won't be apologizing to Sutton. Crystal shares that with Sutton in this scene, and Garcelle and Kyle, and how they don't think there's any getting over this at this point on Erika's end. So let me get to my thoughts for a second, and then we'll get to your chat. So even though Crystal's take here was kind of to the point and kind of stern and just like stone cold, basically, I think she is right in that this isn't some surface level drama. This is Sutton questioning Erika's integrity, which is a big deal. But Sutton knew that risk going in and clearly sees it as worth it to bring up to Erika. So we'll see in the next few weeks as we approach the finale and reunion of the season if this continues to unfold and how this plays out going forward as they're all watching back the show. But those are my thoughts on this episode. Let's get to your live chat. I see them flowing in here. All right, Nastia says, Garcelle went all out to share her culture. It looked fantastic. Yes, I thought it was, I mean, most of their dinner parties are nice, but she really went all out with the wall of flowers and floral, and the display of the conch shells and all the flowers and the front yard. I think for Garcelle, this is like her chance to show her culture, and I think she probably didn't want to mess it up, because like you don't know if they cut out stuff before or if they show the whole scene. And so her having a dinner party with the entire cast was her chance to just go all out. And I think I agree with you. It was really beautiful, and it looked really interesting, the food. So I think she's doing a big service to Haitian Americans to show the culture. So I think that's really, and of course, in the wake of what Haiti's going through right now in the world. Of course, when they were filming this, it wasn't happening, but with the hurricane and everything, I think it just means more. It even means more now to keep that alive, because they go through a lot during hurricanes and whatnot. So Nastia also says Sutton apologized to Kyle, but no apology from Kyle for throwing Sutton under the bus at Kathy's house. Yeah, I have a feeling Sutton isn't going to be continue to be too happy about that, and it's probably going to come up again. So we'll see what happens with that. But as you are getting in your last few comments for this episode, I want to say thank you for joining me for not only the live this morning and the technical difficulties that I'm going to be working on as it is processing to clip out that part where the stream went down. I want to thank you for joining me then. I want to thank you for joining me for this one, and I'm excited because we're caught up, finally going into the last few episodes of this season and the reunion. Looks like the reunion will start, like I said, first week of October and probably go into the second and third week. Hopefully I have something planned that third week. So that one might be delayed to like a Sunday like this or a Monday, but that'll be the last episode, so we won't have to worry about too much timing of before a new episode airs, assuming that's only 2 or 3 parts, but maybe it'll be 4. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of overkill, but we don't know. I think they're filming this week, so we'll see. But again, thank you so much for joining me. If you liked what you've seen in the last 2 lives, make sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications, and check out the description box and the about section of the channel to sign up for email notifications so you can get the link to the live stream or the premiere live chat on YouTube, and the links to the replays as well on Rumble or on podcasting platforms or here on YouTube. And give this video and the last one a thumbs up if you liked what you saw, to get more people to see it. And we can continue the conversation, the comments in the main comment section after we wrap up here. But if you don't have any other comments, thank you so much for joining me, and I will talk to you in the next one. Have a great rest of your weekend. Bye-bye. Thank you, Nastia, for being here as well.